Hello, Anashe, and welcome to the next free YouTube Pagan Challenge series. I'm behind, but I do want to finish those before the year ends and answer all the questions. So I'm gonna do like three at a time because I missed some weeks. And this week's questions are about what do I feel about this time of year, what have been most influential about my path, and some of my favorite pagan books. Okay, so let me begin. It's now very cold in Israel. The winter has been extremely cold, which made me happy. It's bad for my psoriasis. But I bathe regularly and I take care of my skin conditions. A few weeks ago, 30 terrorists tried to burn many important places in Israel. They set fires, and we got a lot of assistance from many countries around us, including Greece and other countries with a list very long, including Russia, and I think that from the US as well. And fire terrorism, I think it's a new style of terrorism, and luckily after it ended, some rain came and washed this country clean. And honestly, I'm very happy when winter is here. And it was a very meditative state time. I'm not a big Yule celebrating. I most of the time I simply, light some incense to the dark deities, telling them, please keep the darkness with me for the rest of the year. Please don't let the sun come back and burn my delicate flesh. I very much enjoyed the time of the winter, and I enjoy this cold, and I enjoy not to be sweaty or suffering. So I'm very happy. I'm very happy this time of year. And the year's end is nearing, so there will be an Ebo of Yemaya, which this year is going to be proportionally larger than other years, which makes me also happy. Okay, what has been most influential in my path? Rewards goes to the most general question. It's a very general question. My path is not, a single unique thing, and I have many things to choose from. But I think that meeting my friend Sheloya, that has a YouTube channel here, and like building an Iler with her was a very important influencing part. And I also think that a lot of other things have influenced my path. It was a path of experiment, it was a path of growing up, it was a path of learning and making mistakes and knowing what I have to do with my life, and my love of books, my love of other things. A lot of things influenced my path. It's a general question. And the last questions, books that influenced my favorite pagan books. So let me begin by chronological order. Okay, Witchcraft Theory and Practice by Lee DeAngelis. She was the first witch that wrote something that I almost could wholly agree with. It's one of the basic books that I'm teaching from. It's a very philosophical, challenging book, even for me today, in a sense. And she also deals with more advanced practices like glamoring and hexing and warding. And I really like her cosmology. I really like the way she talks about the mysteries. And it's in a sense, that was my best practical Wiccan book. And it's also one of the earliest books that I've ever read. It's still one of my favorite. It's still in print. You can get it and read it. And if you are basic, in a basic level, or you want to go through your basic training again, which many of the witches do, then I suggest that you would. That's one. Okay, this one. You cannot read the title. If you live in the US or in English speaking country, you cannot read this title. This is Derech HaKesem by Rina Kesem. Now, it's the only neo-pagan book ever really written in Israel. They never really wrote a pagan book in Israel until this book. And it was written by Rina Kesem, that back then gave courses, which was the Witch's Path courses, and she is an initiate reclaiming witch. Reclaiming is very big in Israel, bigger than uh, um, bigger than, it's bigger than Wicca in Israel, the whole reclaiming system. We have very American influence, not so British influence. It's even autographed. To my shadow friend Arden, many blessings of light and shadow, Rina Kesem. And this book, even though it's like the first Israeli Wicca book, it's very well made. It's very, it's very cohesive, and it's a summary of all the neo-pagan books that got published in the reclaiming tradition to the point in 2006. Okay, which means it's a very contemporary book, and it's still useful, it's still relevant, and it's like the cream of the spiral dance and evolutionary witchcraft by Thorne Coyle, and and it's like and yet, even though it's a complex philosophical book, it's also very concise. And she also gives you, it can also be considered academic. It's like taking a lot of primary sources and creates a secondary sources out of them. And, let me just translate to you the chapters. The first chapter is about religion and society. The second is about the gods. The third is about changing your perception, which contains joy and ecstasy, mystery, suffering, death, morality, empowering, and magic. The fourth is the elements, the circle, air, fire, water, earth, and wind. Sorry, it's spirit. The fifth is witchcraft, setting a goal, witchcraft and morality, etc., etc. The sixth is about how to make a ritual, how to purify. The seventh is the cycles of the moon. The eighth, it's about the circle of the year, and the ninth is the spiral way and how to live the pagan path. And again, the fact that this was a book written for the Israeli audience, it also have like a chapter about being a witch in the Holy Land, being a pagan witch in the Holy Land. So it's a very, very good book. So this is the second one that has been influencing me, and giving me a lot of inspiration. The third one is this, The Witching Way of Holy Hill by Robin Artisan. And I'm not going to actually give a review of this book. It's a very rudimentary one. He had better books and he had worse books, but it really influenced me. It really got me on the path of traditional witchcraft. And it's like, honestly, it's a good book, but you need to take a big breath to try and read and to analyze and try to understand what he's talking about when he's talking about, for instance, on the straw and twig body of the land and the right of the wake fire and the funerary mound. And he has this way of using language and recreating language in a way that suits him. But those three books are very, they made me think, and they were very influential on my path, and I really love them. So, those are some of my favorite pagan books. Okay, see you next week with 3 more, which is YouTube Pagan Challenge. Goodbye and Ashe.